The antique shop's security cameras lit up my phone screen at exactly 11:42 p.m. Through the grainy night vision feed, I watched my stepfather Robert enter through the back door, carrying what looked suspiciously like a gas canister. Right on schedule, I muttered, already dialing Detective Martinez's number. He's inside. Units are in position, she replied quietly. We'll wait until he actually tries something. Get clear evidence of intent. I nodded, though she couldn't see me. For 3 months, we've been building a case against Robert's systematic attempt to destroy my mother's livelihood. Tonight was just the final act in his elaborate plan. My name is Kate Chen, and at 33, I was watching my stepfather try to burn down the antique shop my mother had spent 20 years building. What he didn't know was that everything, from his entry to his earlier sabotage attempts, was being recorded and documented. The security feed showed him moving through the shop, carelessly shoving aside valuable pieces as he spread accelerant. My mother's prized Tiffany lamp crashed to the floor, and I winced despite knowing we'd already replaced it with a replica. The real one was safely in storage, along with most of the truly valuable pieces. How's your mom holding up? Detective Martinez asked, keeping me on the line. Asleep finally. I gave her those mild sedatives the doctor prescribed. She thinks she's staying at my place because of electrical problems at the shop. In reality, Mom was safely away from what Robert had planned for tonight. The electrical problems were his doing, one of many small acts of sabotage he engineered over the past few months, trying to make the shop's eventual destruction look like an accident waiting to happen. My phone buzzed with another text from Marcus, my lawyer. Insurance investigator is standing by. Everything's documented. I thought back to 6 months ago when I first noticed something was wrong. The shop, Chen Family Antiques, had been successful for decades. Then Robert married my mother, and suddenly everything started going wrong. First, it was small things, inventory records getting mixed up, supplier orders going missing, items being misplaced. Then larger problems started, negative online reviews from obviously fake accounts, mysterious cancellations from regular clients, rumors about counterfeit pieces. Mom was devastated, but Robert was always there to help. He convinced her to add him to the business insurance policy, suggested increasing the coverage, kept talking about how some businesses were worth more closed than open. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He never bothered to check who actually owned the building that housed Chen Family Antiques. The property had been in my father's family for generations, and when he died 15 years ago, he left it to me, not my mother. I kept that information quiet, letting the building be managed through an LLC. Even Mom thought she was still renting from the original family trust. It had seemed simpler that way, until Robert entered our lives. On my phone screen, Robert was finishing his preparations. I watched him check his phone, probably confirming Mom was really at my place, before pulling out a lighter. He's about to do it, I told Detective Martinez. He's got a lighter. Wait for it, she replied tensely. We need to be sure. Robert struck the lighter, the small flame visible on the camera feed. He bent down, moving it toward the trail of accelerant he'd laid. Now, Detective Martinez barked into her radio. The shop's lights blazed on suddenly, the special high-intensity ones we'd installed for this moment. Through the windows, I could see police officers converging from all directions. Robert froze, the lighter still in his hand as Detective Martinez burst through the door with her team. SFPD. Hands where we can see them. I watched him drop the lighter, his face a mask of shock as he was handcuffed and read his rights. He genuinely hadn't expected to be caught. That was Robert's biggest flaw. He always underestimated everyone around him. Ms. Chen, one of the officers spoke into his radio. We've got him. You can come in now. I drove the short distance from my surveillance position to the shop. By the time I arrived, Robert was sitting in the back of a police car, looking shell-shocked. Crime scene technicians were photographing everything, the gas canister, the lighter, the trail of accelerant. Want to talk to him? Detective Martinez asked as I walked up. I thought about it for a moment, then nodded. She opened the police car door. Kate. Robert's voice was uncertain. What are you doing here? There was a problem with the shop. I was just checking. With gasoline and a lighter. I asked quietly. That's an interesting way to check on things. His face hardened. You don't understand. The shop is dying. Your mother can't see it, but sometimes a business needs to end. The insurance would have set her up for life. The shop isn't dying, Robert. You've been killing it. We have evidence of everything. The sabotage orders, the fake reviews, the manipulated inventory. Every single thing you did to try to destroy my mother's business. He tried to laugh it off, but I could see fear creeping into his eyes. That's ridiculous. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. Those new security cameras Mom had installed last month, I put them in. They've recorded everything, including your little conversations about how accidents happen and sometimes a fire is a blessing. His face went pale. The cameras, that was you. The cameras, the backup inventory records, the real antiques being moved to safe storage, all me. Did you really think I'd just stand by and watch you destroy everything my mother built? Your mother, he spat, his mask finally slipping, is a fool who can't see that her precious shop is obsolete. I was trying to help her. By committing insurance fraud, by planning to burn down a building full of irreplaceable antiques. I leaned closer. A building, by the way, that I own. That stopped him cold. What? Oh, didn't you know? The building has been in my family for generations. That LLC you think owns it, that's me. So you weren't just attempting insurance fraud. You were trying to burn down my property. The next morning, I sat beside Mom in Detective Martinez's office, holding her hand as she watched the security footage. Each betrayal played out in crisp digital clarity. Robert sabotaging inventory, planting fake antiques, making those threatening phone calls to suppliers. How could I have been so blind? She whispered, tears streaming down her face. All those problems, I actually believed the business was failing. He was very careful, Detective Martinez said gently. These types of predators usually are. They gain trust, then use it against their victims. I thought about how methodically Robert had worked to isolate Mom from her friends and business associates. How he'd slowly convinced her that her judgment couldn't be trusted, that she needed to rely on him more and more. The insurance investigator called this morning, Marcus said, entering the office with a thick folder. They're very interested in Robert's recent changes to the policy, particularly the rider he added for smoke and fire damage last month. Mom's hands trembled as she signed the statement Detective Martinez had prepared. Each page documented another piece of Robert's elaborate scheme to destroy her business and collect the insurance payout. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now, I said, squeezing her hand, we rebuild. But first, there's something I need to tell you about the building. It took time to explain everything. How Dad had left me the building, how I'd managed it quietly through the LLC, how I'd been watching over the business all along. Mom listened silently, fresh tears falling. Your father would be so proud, she said finally. He always said you had his head for business. I should have seen what Robert was doing. Don't, I interrupted gently. Don't blame yourself. Just help me bring the shop back to what it should be. Over the next few weeks, we worked to restore Chen Family Antiques to its former glory. The real inventory came back from storage piece by piece. Loyal customers returned as we reached out to explain what had happened. Even some of the suppliers Robert had frightened away came back, offering their support. Robert, meanwhile, was facing serious charges. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Not just attempted arson and insurance fraud, but systematic harassment, extortion of suppliers, and financial crimes we were still uncovering. He's trying to make a deal, Detective Martinez told me one afternoon. Claims he can provide information about other insurance scams he's been involved with. I wasn't surprised. Research had revealed that Robert had a pattern of marrying successful business owners, then orchestrating accidents for insurance payouts. He'd just never been caught before. 1 month after Robert's arrest, Mom and I stood in the newly reorganized shop. The Tiffany lamp was back in its rightful place, along with all the other pieces he tried to destroy. I've been thinking, Mom said, adjusting a Victorian vase. Maybe it's time for some changes. Real ones, not the kind Robert tried to force. What kind of changes? You have your father's business sense and my eye for antiques. Perhaps it's time for you to take a more active role in the shop. I smiled, thinking about the plans I'd already drawn up. Ideas for expanding the business, modernizing our inventory system, maybe even opening a second location. I'd like that, I said. Partners? Mom hugged me tightly. Partners. The bell above the door chimed as Sarah, our first customer of the day, walked in. She'd been one of our most loyal clients before Robert scared her away with his fake accusations about counterfeit merchandise. "The shop looks wonderful," she said, looking around appreciatively. "I heard about what happened. That man, I can't believe he tried to destroy all this history." "But he didn't succeed," Mom replied, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in months. "Sometimes the things that try to break us just make us stronger." 6 months later, Chen Family Antiques was thriving. Our reputation for authenticity and expertise had only grown stronger after the scandal. People appreciated how we fought to protect not just the business, but the history and stories each piece represented. Robert pleaded guilty to multiple charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. His cooperation led to the discovery of 3 other insurance fraud schemes he'd run with previous wives. They all reached out to thank us for stopping him before he could destroy more lives. Mom slowly healed from the betrayal. She started dating again, but this time she was more cautious, more aware of red flags. She learned that trust had to be earned, not freely given. One evening, as we were closing up the shop, she paused by the Tiffany lamp, the one Robert had tried to destroy that night. "You know what's ironic?" she said, running her fingers along its delicate glass. "He thought he was so clever, trying to burn everything down for the insurance money. But the real value was never in the insurance policy." "Oh." "The real value was in what he couldn't see, the history, the stories, the connections we've built. And most importantly," she smiled at me, "the family protecting it all." I hugged her, breathing in her familiar perfume. "Dad would be proud of us both." "Yes," she agreed. "He always said our greatest strength was in knowing our true worth." Robert never understood that. The shop bell chimed again. A last-minute customer. As Mom went to help them, I watched her move confidently through the space she created, surrounded by the pieces she'd lovingly curated over decades. Robert had tried to destroy all this, thinking only of its insurance value. He'd never understood that some things are worth more than money: family, legacy, trust. He tried to burn it all down, but instead, he'd only made us stronger. The security cameras still ran, their red lights blinking quietly in the corners. We didn't really need them anymore, but they remained as a reminder, both of what we'd almost lost and how we'd fought to save it. Sometimes in the evening light, when the sun hits the Tiffany lamp just right, I think about how close we came to losing everything. But then I remember what Dad always said: the strongest steel is forged in fire. We've been tested by fire, quite literally, and emerged stronger. The shop wasn't just a business anymore. It was a testament to resilience, to the power of family protecting its own. And somewhere in a prison cell, Robert was learning a hard lesson about underestimating the women he tried to destroy. Some legacies can't be burned away. Some bonds are fireproof.